Next, we're going to hear from Alison, and I'm excited for this one, the intersection of purpose, profits, and peace. So that I'm stoked. I mean, every time she talks, I'm excited to hear it. So that's the best part. And I get to hear her talk more often. So it's really, really cool. Every day that we get to work together and the days that we sit down, I know when we first started working together, she's like, you need to understand what I do. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm open to anything. And I didn't realize the depth at which she does what she does and the energetic part of that that's tied into it, and the joy that she has doing it, but the joy that she brings and allows other people to express in that process also. Definitely super eye-opening for me as far as the different energetic levels and the things, the way I express my frustrations or the way I express the way I'm doing my businesses and how I'm showing up in those businesses and just in life in general. So having that has been, it's like in the back of my mind all the time now, which is a good thing, right? Anytime you can become more aware in any aspect of what you're doing on a professional level that transcribes over into on a personal level, that's like double bonus, right? It's like double bonus squared. So I'm going to read her bio again real quick for those of you who may not have heard it. So Alison Proffit, founder of Profit Coach, is a business coach and consultant who takes a holistic approach in helping purpose-driven small business owners feel more heart-centered and soul-aligned in the sales, marketing, and operations aspect of their business, which definitely is true. I'm way more centered now in what I'm doing. That's why I'm doing tech again. As a coach certified through the Institute of Professional Excellence in Coaching, the work she does is rooted deeply in energy leadership. Related to more tactical parts of running a business, her 15-year background in human resources, operations, sales, and marketing provides incredible value to her clients. After 4 failed business launch attempts, she found the magic ingredient that joy is the best business strategy. She is passionate about guiding her clients and finding this joy in their business and allowing their intuition to guide the way. When she's not impacting the lives of small business owners, she enjoys exploring the glorious nature of where she lives in northern Colorado, rock climbing, dancing, singing at the top of her lungs, and spending time with friends. And with that said, without further ado, it's all you, Alison.
Thank you. Thanks, Travis. In putting together a program like the Soulful Entrepreneur Summit, the very first year that I ran this event in 2021, the planning of it was at the end of 2020. I had never done something of this scale before. I had put on some other virtual events in 2020. And it was one of those things where I was like, this feels really good, like being in these kinds of spaces. I think I knew there was a lot of unknown. And how many of you in the room here as a business owner have a lot of unknown that you're navigating? I'm sorry, I'm trying to turn off my transcribing because it's right in front of my videos. Give me a second. There we go. And when we're navigating something that's unknown, it can make us feel not very peaceful. Would you agree? Yeah. Because if you've never done something before, how do you know how to do it? How do you know how you're supposed to move through it? And this is where the whole values piece that's been a thread throughout this week really comes into play. And so for me, when I was planning this event for the very first time, I knew there were things I didn't know. And I thought, I definitely want to do this my way, because part of the inspiration for the Soulful Entrepreneur Summit came from going to other small business events as a fairly new business owner And I was like, these suck. These suck. Like, I feel like I'm just sitting here and just like being talked at. And I didn't really feel like there was much other than like platitudes. And it just didn't feel like there was a lot of engagement. So your experience of me, like, unmute yourself, drop in the chat, like, engage, interact, that comes from what I need when I'm in an experience like this. Because my brain will tune out and be thinking about my to-do list of what I should be doing instead of sitting here hearing things I think I already have heard. And this is just like a few different words or a couple different stories. And over the years, I do feel like I've understood the different impact that stories can have. But you got to make sure that whoever's telling that story really is like on brand for whoever they're talking to. Have you ever been in a presentation where you're like, yeah, those are good things, but that's like, I don't feel like they're talking to me. And my inspiration for this event really stems from I know that there's a lot of people out there that want to do business the way that all of us in this room want to do it. But I think that there's a lot of people that feel a little funny about putting their spin on it and putting their values in it. And, like even just like my decision this year to talk so openly about my faith, that feels risky because there's some people here where they're like, they've had some harm in that area of their life. And also, that's okay. The way to heal from harm is to see other people who've also healed from something like that, whatever that is, and they're moving through it. We got to talk about it. We have to feel really good about it. And when I was planning the very first event, I had a conversation with a woman who I had considered hiring because I was like, okay, I've never done anything like this before. I know I want to do it differently. I know there's lots of moving pieces. I don't know why I knew that because I never really did it before, but something just landed in my heart. And I was like, there's a lot of different pieces. You have to market it, sell it. There has to be intentionality. There needs to be organization behind the scenes. It's not just like throw up an Eventbrite and hopefully people show up. A 3-day event with multiple speakers is a lot. And this woman, this is really what she did for a living. She helped people with putting on large scale events. And I had a call with her because I was like, maybe I'll hire her to help us. And we ended up not hiring her, but she had given me very sage wisdom. And she said, the thing I see people do wrong who want to do events in their business is they do all of the work and they bring together lots of people and they highlight everybody else's wisdom and they don't put themselves on the stage. And putting yourself on the stage is where you can put your purpose out there. And the stage doesn't need to be this. It doesn't need to be a TEDx. It could be a coffee meeting in a coffee shop. It could be literally inviting somebody to have tea at your house, right? You have stages all over, but you have to be highlighting yourself. And it feels safer to like shine light on everybody else. But how will people know what you're doing in the world? And I know that when Travis and I were piecing together what's called like a run of show document, which I kind of feel like at some point we should show what that looks like. Does anybody know what a run of show is? It's basically like a minute by minute like run through of an event. So
Organized
it's like,
chaos.
yeah, it's like drop this in the chat. This is what's happening here. Say this here. This is an administrative task. And it's all in one like 50-page document, basically. And so like that's behind the scenes of something like this. And that's why I think people come to my events and they're like, wow, it feels so organized. And that's not for everybody, right? But for me, it was like, oh, I'm really good at organizing really big things. That's what you do when you work in HR. You're organizing lots of what seems like disparate parts that are supposed to function all together with like lots of different personalities and lots of different like personal lives and lots of different communication styles. And so like that's my background. And when we were putting this run of show together on for day one, I said to Travis, I was like, I am really struggling because when you're the person running the event and doing administrative tasks and speaking like 4 times and moderating 2 panels, my name is all over that document. And I was like, Travis, like, this isn't supposed to be the Alison show. And it feels like this is the Alison show. And Travis said something that I think is really compelling and it fits into here. But I also think it's compelling to all of you in that what he said to me, he was like, Alison, it's not the Alison show, but you are the glue and the grease for this event. And so, isn't he so smart? I feel like God put this man in my life to be like, okay, Alison, you're going to need to hear these things at 1:30 in the morning when you're working on this thing. And look, here's another human that like also works at 1:30 in the morning.
I'm so glad that you remember things I say because I only remember like maybe 1% of things I say. I'm like, I think I said something good once, but I don't remember what it was. I need a Sherpa to follow me around and write that stuff down, right?
Yeah, like wouldn't it be great if we had somebody just following us all around with like a little voice recorder? And so I want you to think about as we move into this this presentation is like where are you the glue and where are you the grease in your business? And thinking about like the purpose that you have that's planted in your heart for your business, like are you really honoring that, or are you like, oh, I don't want to be the glue, or like, oh, grease is dirty, I don't want that, right? And so it's not really my plan to use this glue and grease thing all throughout, but it was so compelling because when you step on your stage to put your purpose out there, it can feel like a moment where you're ready to shrink. It's like there's all this buildup, all this buildup, all this buildup, and then you're there and you're in it and you're like, is this right? Am I doing it right? Is it happening properly? Do people like it? Do I like it? Right? It's just like all of these things that can come in and get in the way of the peacefulness that is important when you're moving through this business journey. And a lot of people don't want the chaos. But folks, the minute you formed your business, you signed up for it. Right? Like we signed up for the chaos, and chaos isn't bad. If you think about nature, like nature is so chaotic. All of the things that are going on underneath the ground that we walk on is so chaotic, right? Like the magma, but we're not walking around and we're like, oh my gosh, it's so chaotic. We're like, oh, let me get grounded in nature. That's where I find my peace. It's like, it's so chaotic out there, right? There's like things moving around everywhere, right? So we have to remember that we signed up for this, and the way that we can really find this like intersection between like purpose, profits, and peace. We are going to talk about the values, but we're going to talk about 2 other concepts as we move through the conversation today. And that is the concept of KISS, K.I.S.S, which you've heard me talk about before. If you were here earlier in the summit, we mentioned it before. And this idea of WIN. And actually, Travis is the one that put this word WIN in front of me, this acronym. And I think I may have heard it before, but it really, really struck me because when you're doing something big in life or in your business, it can be really, really difficult to not think of all the things, because all the things happen in life, in business, especially if you are a parent or you're, like helping to care for aging parents or whatever the or is for you. Some people also are working in a full-time job while they're trying to do their business, or a part-time job, right? There's all these different pieces. And so, so we're going to talk about the KISS principle. We're going to talk about WIN, and then we're going to really look at these 4 pillars of soulful entrepreneurship, of soulful success, soulful money and time, soulful messaging, and soulful community building. And my hope is that at the end of this this session, that you have a little bit of a roadmap for where you can apply the kind of the K.I.S.S and the W.I.N ideas in the 4 pillars for yourself and for your business. And you know, I definitely lean into this idea that intuition is my plan. And I literally, it was like 10 minutes before this presentation, I was like, okay, should I be pulling up this slideshow? Should I be doing right? And I went outside, I got my cup of coffee, and I came back and I thought, I'm going to allow this to unfold because that feels so peaceful to me. That's not peaceful for everybody. Some people are like, I need the slideshow, I need the bullet points, and I need all the things. And it is about knowing what works well for you. So I'm not going to be showing you slides, but you are going to be using your notebook. So be sure you have a notebook and a pen handy. And we're first going to just kind of ground down. I know we just came from lunch and some of you already might have done this, but some of you might have been like me and you were doing a bunch of tasks and then you're like, let me shovel some food in my mouth, take a couple breaths, and then I'm going to just jump back in here and we're going to get rolling. So we're going to ground down just for a moment. And if you're in a safe place and this feels comfortable for you, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. Obviously, Randy, if you're driving, please don't close your eyes. But if you're parked, you can go ahead and safely do that. And you're welcome to turn off your camera if you'd like. So close your eyes and plant your feet on the ground and sit yourself up a little bit taller. Drop your shoulders. Pull your head back into kind of like a neutral place. Drop your chin. Soften your jaw. Close your eyes or soften your gaze. Take a nice slow inhale in through your nose and out through your mouth. Take another nice breath in through your nose and exhale. I want you to, as we're sitting here and just grounding into our space and into our bodies, I want you to call in the word peace. And when you think of this word peace, what is it that peace means to you? Just notice what you're hearing and what you're feeling and any sensations in your body that might arise when you come into this word of peace. Maybe even envision the things around you when you're feeling peaceful. What are you doing? Where are you? How are you being? What are you smelling? Are you eating something? Are you wearing something specific? And as you're calling in that vision, I want you to reflect on is whatever this space is, this vision is that you calling into your mind, how often are you going there? Are you spending time in that place, space, or experience? Are you waiting for something to be in place for you to go there? And just be curious about what is it that you are waiting for if you don't go there often. And if you go there often, call that into mind too. And you can think about this in the lens of your personal life. or in your business. Because these two things intersect, because without you, your business is not an entity. Unless you are some large corporation, most of the people in this room are a necessary piece of their business. So that intersection between personal and business, where is this piece? Are you playing in that space often, or are you just leading it out there like a carrot? Now I want you to call into mind the 4 pillars of soulful entrepreneurship. And when you think about these pillars, and I will name them one at a time in a moment, I want you to notice what happens to this peace, this peaceful feeling, when I state this pillar. Just notice what happens in your body to the peaceful feeling. Mindset. Money and time. So that's sales, pricing, managing the money, managing the time and the resources and the operations. Money and time. What happens to your piece? Messaging. That's the branding. That's the where are you messaging? How are you messaging? And community. And community in terms of not just your clients, but also your team and the network of other people that support you in the journey of being a small business owner. When you think of community, what happens to peace? Just notice that. Now I want you to ask yourself, what else might be possible to bring the peacefulness back to these pillars for you if it went away at all? If it didn't go away, what could be different for you to elevate the peace around that pillar? And imagine how this impacts your profits. And then imagine when your profits increase, what that impacts in your personal life as well. Just let this vision play out in your mind. Don't worry if you're going to lose anything. It's all going to stay right where it needs to be. I'm going to count down from 5 to 1. When I get to 1, I just want you to take pen to paper, and anything that comes into your mind from this visioning experience, write those reflections down. And then we'll come back into our space here together. I'll probably set a timer for 2 or 3 minutes. Counting down from 5, continue to breathe in and be in this experience. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We have another minute and a half. Wrapping up your thoughts. You can always come back to this. All right. So when we are walking in this space of imagining what peace feels like, I'd love to just kind of hear what jumped out at you in this idea of the peaceful state and how long you're in it, and are you allowing yourself to go there? So let's start with that. And you can either drop it in the chat or you can feel free to unmute yourself. But I want this to really feel like a workshop vibe, right? So let's see here. Randy.
Yeah, it was interesting. You know, I was trying to think of times when I really feel peaceful, and when I do, it's because I'm either in nature or with friends and family that I love, And sometimes when I'm in community where, let's say I'm just a participant and I'm just sitting back and hearing, either a spiritual community or things like that. But when I thought about things like mindset and the other categories you were listing, things came up like excitement overrules peace, and doing and being productive and motivated. It doesn't feel like peace. I wouldn't say it was negative, but it's more of like closer to being kind of agitated or exhilarated or excited. And, one of the things I wrote down was, am I supposed to feel peace during those times? Or maybe that is what peace is. I'm not sure. It brought up some questions for me.
Oh, I love that. I love that idea. Anybody want to like riff on that or like have anything that just kind of comes up from that? Yeah, Rena.
Yes, I do. And so I think that for myself, first of all, your question elicited a memory, right? And so I went back in time to television production and programming creation within school districts in the county we live in. And I remember the excitement of the whole process, right? Booking the guests, coming up with the questions, all of it. It was exciting. And then came the time and the marketing was fun to do. Everything was fun. And it was more fun because I was doing it with my best friends, right? And so that made it so much better rather than it was just me doing it by myself, which is where I am now.
Yeah.
And so the peacefulness came when everything was done. The peacefulness came way before it started, right? Within the busyness of it is the excitement and the adrenaline and perhaps the challenges. There were all those things. There were a lot of moving pieces, right? Which is what Randy was talking about.
Yeah.
And so peacefulness comes when you can sit back in a hot tub and reflect on an event that you'd been working on for a month and sit in the hot tub and say, this is great. All is well. Job done. Good job. Right? Peacefulness. Peacefulness is sitting outside. Peacefulness is looking at nature and recognizing the magnificence of it all. Interesting. You see it as chaotic and I see it as purposeful. Right? It's all in balance. It's all what it needs to do, and it knows it because it has its own intelligence. Right? It's intelligent. So and of course, walking along the water and being near water. The energy of the water is calming, is soothing when it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think this is a really great conversation because I think that one of the things I love to do in the way that I do the values work is it's not like, here's this word and this word means this certain thing. It's like words are so personal. This is why conflict breaks out, right? Like people say something and then they're like, oh, I thought they meant this. It's like, well, I mean, maybe we don't understand what they mean by that thing. We all have our own definitions. And I think that for some people, like sitting on a beach looking at the ocean is very peaceful. And for other people, they're like, I don't really like the ocean. Or some people are like, I don't really like the water. Who knows why? It's like, it's not right or wrong. But I came across this definition in the Merriam-Webster online dictionary, and they actually have like a kids definition section. Is this a thing that you guys know? I did not know this. But anyways, under the kids section of the Merriam-Webster dictionary, it defines peace. And Randy, this kind of, I think, aligns with what you were saying of like, well, I don't know, is this supposed to be peaceful? So it's a state of quiet, freedom from upsetting thoughts or feelings, harmony in personal relations, or a state or a period of peace between governments or an agreement to end war. So I think in our business, we might look at peace and think about like, oh, it's like this state of quiet. But that's not really the piece that I'm referring to in this definition or in this talk. It's really more this number two, right? When we look at this freedom from upsetting thoughts or feelings, and even harmony, it's finding this harmony in how we are approaching these pillars. I think some people might look at this, summit, for example, and be like, oh, wow, like she's going to feel so peaceful when it's over. It's like, actually, my goal is like, how do I feel peaceful in the creation of it? Right? Because that energy is going to transmute in the process. And so the path to that, what I have found is really paying attention to those pillars and looking at the K.I.S.S approach. And I know some people that are here at the summit have worked with me. And so that's a thing they probably hear in their, it's like a little Alison on their shoulders. Oh, how do I K.I.S S this? So K.I.S S stands for, in the corporate world, K.I.S S is keep it simple, stupid. I don't know if you all have heard of this in the corporate world, but it's a phrase that people say. And it always really triggered me, but I know I used to say it too, because I was in the corporate world. So, you just do what you do without much intentionality or questioning why you do it. And I kind of thought, well, like, honestly, I feel like keeping it simple is not stupid. It's like smart people know how to keep it simple. And I also don't think we're stupid, right? I don't think people are stupid. I think sometimes we make stupid decisions, but neither here nor there. I like instead to say, keep it soulfully simple. So in the areas of your business, when you think about the pillars, if you could drop in the chat, like that part of the exercise of which pillar kind of shook that piece for you, that kind of like took it a little off kilter. If you would just drop the name of the pillar and put that in the chat, or if it was more than one, that would be really interesting. And we've heard a lot about people throughout this summit talking about, like, sales and marketing and operations being these pieces that they struggle with. And the idea of keeping it soulfully simple can bring a lot more peace, because there's freedom in, like Travis said, what if this was easy instead of being hard, right? It's kind of like it's aligned with that whole idea. And so, and it's also like the other piece of the piece definition is freedom from upsetting thoughts or feelings. So how can we disengage the judgment that we might have around that thing? Because the judgment is often the thing that disrupts the peace. Right? Think about when you're in a really great experience and then all of a sudden your to-do list starts running through your head and it totally takes you out of the flow. It takes you out of the experience because of how we're thinking about it, right? We know these things, but then when we're in our business, we put on our business hats. We're like, all right, let's do the business things. And then we start thinking and feeling and comparing and being like, oh, I have to learn all of these different things. And instead of keeping it soulfully simple, of looking at like what's right here, right now, and that's a little preview of the win, but we'll get there in a moment. We start overthinking and putting this whole long list of like all of these things that have to happen in order to get to where we're trying to go. Because that might be true, that there's many things to do in the area of money and time and messaging, and like, the operations stuff. And I think one of the reasons why we do that is I said this yesterday, a lot of times there's a skill missing. And without the skill, we actually don't have the roadmap. And this is something that Dane talked about, right? Like in the panel conversation, this idea that there is actually a really great, simple structure for those conversations. And that literally is what I learned at Constant Contact, and what I teach in my business really is the framework that I learned at Constant Contact, but then I like overlaid my knowledge and experience of business and the energy leadership principles into how to execute on that strategy. So it makes sense that you get upset and lose your peace and lose your ability to stay present in the moment, because you're like, I actually don't know how to do all of these things. And there's a lot of people out there that are like, and you keep hearing me say it because it's an experience I'm walking through right now. So know that your business is going to evolve. And one day I'll probably stop talking about this experience, or maybe not. Like, I am in a high ticket program right now, and I'm in it for different reasons. I wanted to see how they were doing, how they were doing a year-long $20,000 program. Turns out they're doing it opposite how I would ever want anybody to experience spending that much money, because what they're doing is they're teaching things and they're saying, go watch these recordings. Here's some fill in the blank worksheets. And, we'll give you some mindset stuff, and we'll bring you into rooms together with people. And then we'll let you kind of like move through that and feel connected and feel excited. And then we're going to send you out into the world, and you don't actually have all the skills. Or you were like given a little bit of the skills, and then you were told, okay, now you have to go and kind of figure that out on your own, or you're going to be broken up in little groups with other people who also don't have the skills. And then you're going to like practice it with each other. Anybody have those experiences? Yeah. And if you haven't, like, please be mindful. And it's funny, like going into this experience that I went into, and I'm really having to like figure out what I'm going to do with it. And it really has made me question, like, do I want to offer a $20,000 offer program? Like, it makes me question myself, and it's disrupted my own peace. But my whole thing that I have had to come back around to is knowing like what is in my integrity and what do I know? And that's why, bringing in some of my other, and by the way, like the panel conversations and like that part of the summit were like decided upon before I even invested in this program that I'm, really unhappy with. But it's informed that like what people need isn't worksheets. They don't need pre-recorded stuff. They don't just need a community. Like, this community is great. But our business is so personal, and your purpose is so uniquely designed and informed from all of your life experiences, that being in a room and like chit-chatting and masterminding it's helpful, but it's not going to get you on that peaceful path, because it's probably going to be introducing a lot of other ideas and more information. Be like, oh, maybe I should be doing it that way. Oh, I like that. And that's helpful. But a lot of times it creates more like upsetting thoughts or feelings, because you're then looking at this other thing, because it's hard not to do it, right? It's like, ooh, okay. And peel back the curtain, like, that was me with Jamie, right? I mean, like, if I'm going to be totally radically honest, like, oh, should I be doing kind of the thing that Jamie's doing, right? Like how she's doing her business. And it's like, no, that's not my purpose. My purpose is deep one-on-one work. And so it's not about like looking at like what brings everybody else peace. And like money in the bank account, sure, there's peace in that. But money in the bank account from a place that's not aligned with your purpose it's going to not be sustainable. Is this resonating? You guys feeling? Yeah. Okay, good. So how do you get there? Is that the question that's like wrapping into all your minds? Like, how do you get there? Path number one, definitely, it has to be simple. It has to be simple, and has to be simple for you. Some people would look at the way that I do this Soulful Entrepreneur Summit and be like, Alison, this is totally not simple. You have no right to be talking about simplicity. However, this time around running this event felt so peaceful And I know that like not everybody has the skill sets I have. And like this whole thing, like it was me and Travis, right? I mean, like I don't have like a whole VA team behind me. And we brought in some marketing support in the last like week and a half of the entire event to try to just kind of boost up some of the marketing. But really like this, like I run this event and I put it all on and all the pieces because it's a thing that I was like, oh, this sounds really fun to me, right? If it doesn't sound fun to you, don't do it or find your way of doing it. And for me, I was like, oh, these ways of doing it are simple. Can I make it even better? Yes. And that's where somebody like Travis comes along. So Travis, when I met him and I told him about what I was doing, he was like, oh my gosh, he's like, that sounds amazing. My thing is I love to come into things that already exist and help actually simplify them and make them more efficient and make them more effective. And instead of having all of these disparate systems and technologies, bringing them in under one umbrella. Oh my gosh, doesn't it sound magical? Like I feel like meeting him was this, there was such purpose in it. Like I would have continued to run this event with Amanda, the co-founder of this event, forever. But Amanda brought some very, very different things that were similar to me, right? Like I can do the marketing stuff. Like Travis is always like, oh man, your graphics are amazing. He's like, you make great graphics. Like, how do you do that? Wow, you're very creative. I have that. And Amanda brought a lot of that. But Travis brings this other piece of it. And so when we're thinking about the thing that shakes our peace, we want to look at the W.I.N acronym now, W-I-N. So the W.I.N acronym is what's important now. And it's funny, when Travis shared this acronym with me, I kept saying, what's important next? And he's like, no, it's not next, it's now. So tomorrow morning, Elizabeth Mahoney, who you see here in the room, give a little wave, Elizabeth. So Elizabeth is presenting a workshop on strengths using like the Gallup Strengths Finder tool. And Elizabeth and I have known each other for a number of years, and I consider her a dear friend, and we do client work together and stuff. But my top 10 strengths, in the top 5, I have strategic, futuristic, connectedness, positivity, and woo, which stands for winning others over. I am a visionary through and through. What's next is my love language in business. What's next, right? And then number 6 is ideation. And then I've got communication, maximizer, relator, and adaptability, right? I mean, like, I am very good at being right here and being in the moment and like allowing in intuition. And what's important now? Because if we think about feeling a sense of freedom from like upsetting thoughts or feelings, right? That's peace. When we can kind of say like, what's important now in any of those pillars, it allows us to say, oh, you know what? I think I'd really love to implement this piece of technology or like pay for this really expensive thing, but that's not really important now. And a lot of times in our business, the thing that is most important now is looking at, are you selling the right thing? Is it priced right? Are you in front of the right people? And do you know how to have those conversations? And how are you supporting that underneath? And then underneath is the values, but the underneath is the operations, right? And so we're just going to do some kind of roundtable sharing real quick. What is marinating and popping to the surface? If anybody has had any ideas of like, oh my gosh, I see this. I feel where in my own business, I'm not keeping it soulfully simple. I'm focusing on what's important next instead of what's important now. Or maybe you're a what's important now and you're missing the what's important next, right? I mean, I do kind of think that there's something really important about knowing where you're going. By the way, the destination is joy, if you remember from yesterday. So, I mean, what's important now is the joy and the peace. using your values, but these other pieces for our business, like that's kind of the mindset piece of it. But this other stuff, this sales, this marketing, this operations, it is a theme. It's like a three-legged stool of your business, right? Because without those three pieces, like building your community kind of doesn't matter, right? Like I hate to say that, but it's like it doesn't, because you have to have those other pieces in place. So, Travis, I'm going to come to you because my heart is telling me that I'm supposed to. What's bubbling? Because you've been a part of just like watching this whole thing unfold. And yeah, would love to ask that question of you.
I love that you brought up what's important now, because it's a good reminder for me all the time to focus on that. But then to also, I'm really glad that you brought up what's important next. And I think that was kind of meant to be also, because I literally never thought of what's important next, because I would get caught up in one of the reasons I like the W.I.N acronym is because that's where I used to struggle, because I would plan everything out and then get overwhelmed because I could see all of the possibilities. And now that I've got the what's important now, I need to remember the what's important next sometimes is what's important now.
Yeah. Yeah, because it can be a swing, right? We can kind of swing and we do that, right? Because we're like, ooh, I don't remember when I did this, that totally didn't work. Now I'm just going to do the other side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
100%. Pendulum.
Exactly. So how do you feel like you've supported yourselves in this area of your life and business so far? Like, what have you guys tried? This is a little bit of market research, honestly. I'm kind of curious. Like, what have you guys tried so far in your own business journeys? And we've got people that are in very different stages. We've got some people that are earlier and just starting. We've got people that are, 14, 15 years into their journey. Don, I don't remember how long you've been in your, entrepreneurial journey, but I think it's been quite some time if I remember. So we've got different people. What have you tried that just like kind of missed the mark in helping you get there in a way that, oh, Jess is laughing. I know she's talking next, but now you have to unmute.
I mean, I'm kind of laughing in jest because I feel like if you've been at this for any length of time, you've probably tried a lot of things. And kind of like your point, Allison, of like, programs, courses, all of those things, there's a good time and a place for those kinds of experiences, because there are true deficits, I think, for many of us, especially when we start at the beginning. But over time, I feel really strongly that that's usually not what we need. It's just more shiny objects. And I've been a business owner since 2009, and I've tried a lot of different things. And I'll say the thing that has worked the best is just being consistent at whatever it is I decided to do. I'm not like a big, advocate for this platform or that platform or this way or that way. It's like, it has to be your way. And whatever way that is, you just have got to be consistent.
Yes, it is so true. And there is always new technology coming out, and there is always new social media platforms, and there's always. The thing that's most consistent in the world of being a business owner is having sales conversations. Like, it's one of the oldest professions out there. And I will live and die on that platform. And also, it has to be aligned with who you are. And that's where I think people are, because that's hard to do. Like, that's hard to do on our own. It really, really is. And when you get into your business, you grow and you evolve, you scale. And as you scale, your audience might change. And as you scale, your problems might change. And as you scale, like, then you need a team. And then, right. And so that's kind of why I was like thinking about like that peace journey and being really, really clear on Like, as you do have more profits, what happens to your peace? My background in human resources informs me a lot. When people come to me and they're like, all right, I'm ready to grow, I'm going to hire my first person. My first thing is, great. Do you understand what that means? Do you understand what it means when you're like, I'm going to hire a person and put them on my payroll? There are compliance things that show up because there's laws, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, I'll just pay them. It's like, that's cool. And also, it doesn't work that way. And it's great to grow a team, but it's not just I'm gonna hire a person. And so really bringing that in terms of like your strategic vision. And when I came back into my business in this past fall, because previously I had really just like worked solopreneurs, like that was my thing, right? Just I work with solo entrepreneurs. But then going back into that human resources role for a year, it reminded me of this whole other set of knowledge base that I have about like, not that I ran those businesses, but I know and understand a lot about what it takes to run a business that has employees. And it can be a thing that brings a lot of peace, but it can also bring a lot of other things. So it's important to bring this like keep it soulfully simple thing into even that decision as you're scaling, and the what's important next. Because the what's important next, if you decide to bring an employee in, it's not just let me write a job description and post that on Indeed. There's a whole lot of other things that have to happen before you get there. And so you have to understand like, what kind of business do you even want to have? Because sometimes people are like, I want to impact millions of people. That's beautiful. Do you know what that means? That's beautiful. Do you know what that requires to support? And so, I think that when we set these big wild visions and goals and we don't really understand and think through like what are the sales that it would take to support that? How can I keep my peace in all of that? How can I keep it simple? It has the unintentional impact of interfering with our purpose. So I know that if you're here and you are resonating with this, that you understand that you're in the right places and spaces, because soulful entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart, because you're not just trying to make money, you're trying to make an impact and also ensure that you have that soulful peace in your own life. And I know Jess is going to be talking next, and I'm so excited for her presentation. And I see so many like beautiful ways that my journey with her unfolded, and I'll share this during the introduction of her. But I know that Jess got into a place of, growing and scaling a business and then being like, I don't like this at all. And then other things happened too, right? So when things start feeling dissonant and start falling apart, it can be a great time to question, is this a peace problem? Is this a profit problem? Like maybe you're making profits in a totally misaligned way and you've disconnected from your purpose and you've disconnected from your values. And my whole passion in what I do is not just, oh, I want to help people make money fast in their business, because that's actually not the path to soulful success. And tomorrow's panel, I'm going to have a couple of my other like previous clients, Amanda, who's, I see her here. I don't know if she's here or not here, but Amanda's here. And one of the things that I love about Amanda's story is the work that we did together. Like she didn't start closing sales until she was closing sales, but like not to the level at which she had expected when she came in, because my work isn't about just like, hurry up and get a $10,000 like month. Like that would be great. It would be great. And that happens. That happens for some people, but for some people that doesn't happen. And that's not the measurement for success. Not in the way that I do my work. It is more about that whole perspective, because it's really easy to scale a business and start making a lot of money, and more money, more problems, especially if you do not make sure that you are aligned and peaceful in what you're doing. Yeah. So, I had this like whole vision in my head coming into the summit that like I was going to like pitch an offer from the stage and I was going to do it on day 2 so everybody could go and think about it. And because of some of my own experiences lately, I'm not going to do that today. But there is going to be an opportunity to step into working with me. And for those of you that are further along in your business, it's likely more just like it's a working with me opportunity. But there is another opportunity that we'll be sharing a little bit more about tomorrow for those of you that are earlier in your business who actually do need more support in the operations setup and more support in the marketing. And it's a hybrid offer that includes services from me, from Travis, and from Olivia at OCM Digital Marketing. And I'm so excited to share more with you about that. At the end of the day today, I've decided literally in this moment, because I left space for it in the schedule, that we were going to do something else this afternoon. But if that is like really interesting to you and you want to know more about that before tomorrow when we talk about it, there'll be just an opportunity for you to stick around and ask some questions about like, oh, what's this like fancy thing that you guys are talking about? Because it really is informed from not just like sending you off on your own, but it is a deep one-on-one experience and giving you not just the skills that you need, but giving you the tools, giving you the one-on-one supportive resource where the person that's helping you with the sales and messaging and the groundedness piece of it is actually also then working with you and the person that's helping you with the operations piece of it, and then is also helping you with the digital marketing piece of it. So it's all 3 pieces, all integrated so that you're not going through a branding program and then like sent off on your own and then going through like, how do I sell my stuff? And then going to an operations person and they don't talk to each other. So I'm really, really excited about that. That's about as much detail I'm going to share right now because I don't want to pitch to you from this stage. That is not what this event is. It is about growing my audience and telling you more about the work that I do and getting you to find clarity in what is it that's missing and what feels aligned and resonant for you. And if it's me, awesome. And if it's not, that's also awesome because like where you are in your journey is perfect. So with that, look at that, Travis. Look how I wrapped up like just exactly right on time. The run of show document is working. So questions, comments, Travis, I'll let you wrap it up and see whatever it is that you want to do to kind of transition us.
No, it was perfect. Like you have like I think like 20 seconds left or maybe something like that. So
should we show people the run of show? Do you guys want to see it? Oh, you guys like, what's this run of show?
It's a mess. I mean, it's not, but if you saw
it's a beautiful mess.
you might have to have you sign a disclaimer first. So otherwise you might get PTSD from it, honestly.
It's true. It's pretty complicated, but it's beautiful. It's organized chaos. And isn't that what entrepreneurship is? It's organized chaos, and not everybody does that well. And I feel like one of the things that all of the people in my life have told me is that I totally model everything I teach. And so that's like the biggest compliment I think that anybody can ever receive is that like when you're actually just out there doing it, and people see it, even when you're not trying to like showcase it. Obviously, like in the summit, I'm showcasing it, right? I mean, like, duh, I'm supposed to. That's what that lady told me back in 2020. She's like, you better showcase yourself. So awesome. Should we take a little stretch and like move that in our body, everything we just heard? And don't forget, you'll have an opportunity to hear a little bit more about like the things I just planted seeds about later today, if you so choose. That invitation is open. So let's take a 3-minute stretch break. We've got Jess Sato on deck. So excited. It looks like maybe she has a guest that popped in the room. Maybe, I don't know, Becky, are you here for Jess? I love that. We love to have our supporters. So come back here in 3 minutes so that we can get kicked off with Jess on time. And I'll play a little bit of music as well.